Welcome to Mishna study, Masechet Eruvin Perek Bab Mishna Aleph. Over here in this Mishnah, we're going to discuss the concept and moving on to this concept for the next few perakim of the Eruv Hatzirot, right? So Eruv Hatzirot is the courtyard Eruv. So if you have many people, many homes that live in the same courtyard, and you want to share and carry in this courtyard on Shabbat, so it needs to be fenced in. Right, and we'll get to those laws as well. But you also additionally need to make an eruv. Now, making an eruv means you need to have a meal, a joint meal that everybody participates in. Everyone brings a little something, and you have this piece of bread or matzah or something where you're able to share in that meal, and then you're allowed to all carry in that courtyard together. Now, let's say you have someone who doesn't agree, who doesn't want to participate in this. So we'll speak about it if it's a Jew, right? But over here right now, firstly, a goy, you have a non-Jew, a nochri, right? Or someone, a tzaduki, right? Someone, who from Bnei Tzadok, who did not believe in the Torah Sheba'al Peh, did not believe in the concept of an eruv, and they are living with you in the Hatzer. What do? How do you go about carrying on Shabbat? So, hadarim hanochri b'hatzer, if a person lives with a nochri, a non-Jew, a Gentile in the courtyard, or with someone who doesn't believe in eruv, doesn't agree to the concept of an eruv, doesn't believe in Torah Sheba'al Peh, like we said, the tziduki. Oser alav. This person, this goy, this tziduki, could be oser on the rest of the courtyard. Interesting. Now, just to back up, what are the main principles leading this? So in general, the dira, right, the residence of a goy is not considered a residence. And technically, we wouldn't need an eruv, right? We wouldn't need his permission. But even so, Hachamim established that he does have dira. He does have a residence, and therefore they said he's oser, he could make the whole eruv invalid. Until what? Until we rent his place. Rent out a spot. Now, we know that the goy is not going to rent out. He's not going to lease us his spot because he's worried that we're trying to manipulate him. So he's not going to go ahead and do that, or he thinks that he's going to get the better, the worse end of the bargain of the deal. So what happens? We can't make an eruv with him, and when the Yisrael finds this out, he's not going to rent out his house that's in the courtyard. If he has multiple homes, right? He's not going to rent out the house in the courtyard to a goy, and therefore we're going to prevent living near the goy. Why all this? It's a gezerah. We don't want to learn from his ways, right? Interesting. All this Shabbat, eruv, carrying is really to prevent, right? Why doesn't it work with the goy? To prevent us from living in that same courtyard with them, so we don't come to learn from their ways. Another important rule, another klal, is that before we get into the next half of the Mishnah, a goy, you're not allowed to be mityahed with them. You can't have yichud. The same way you're not allowed to have a person not allowed to have yichud with a woman, he's not allowed to have yichud with a goy. Why? Over here it's different. Over here, because they're hashud on shifichut damim, right? Especially, the amount of blood libels that the Jews went through, right? The goy we're worried about shifichut damim. And therefore, Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov continues, Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov Omer, Le'olam eno oser, ad shehu shnei Yisraelim osrim ze al ze. It's no problem. If it's one Jew and one goy living in the same courtyard, that's fine. That's fine. There's no issue with the eruv. Why? Because they're not allowed to live together. In general, a Yehudi and a goy, there's an isur of yichud, like we just said before, because we worry about shifichut damim. So therefore, the goy is not going to be oser, because we don't have to be oser, because no one's going to go ahead and rent the spot to them, because there's a separate isur of the hashad of shifichut damim, the worry about shifichut damim, and therefore no one's going to be mityahed with them. Tanakh Kama doesn't agree with this, right? Right? Rabbi Eliezer says it's not going to be osir until there's two Yisraelim, two Jews to the goy. Over here, Tanakh Kama says no. Even if there's one goy and one Yisrael, it's still going to be asur, because we worry someone may be bold enough to go ahead and just live and inappropriately just live with the person, and so okay, it's still going to be osir on the. We're still going to make the eruv asur. Now, just more general rules. We need to know that the Yisrael could give over his reshut. Right? If another Yisrael was living in the courtyard, right? You've got to participate in the eruv. or beforehand, he could give over his reshut. If on Shabbat rolls in, he's allowed to be mevatel his reshut. He could annul his reshut and say, okay, my reshut is batel. It's not mine anymore. But the goy has to rent out his property, or rent out his spot. Right? This is close to the Gezerah that we mentioned earlier. When a person gives his reshut, he can give it over before Shabbat. If the Jew wants to give over his reshut, he has to give it over before Shabbat. If he wants to mevatel his reshut, he wants to annul his reshut, that's after Shabbat rolls in, and he goes, oh, he didn't realize, you know what, let me just mevatel my own reshut. He could do so, even on Shabbat, right? And also, let's say there's two people, Reuven and Shimon, right? They could be mevatel, and then chozrim uvatlim, meaning what? Reuven can be mevatel his reshut to Shimon, and after he finishes using it, then Shimon can be mevatel back to the Reuven, right? So that way Reuven could go ahead and use it, right? So you're allowed to go ahead and play this, this loophole, but it's what Chachamim allow in this case. And what we said that you're allowed to go ahead and rent from the goy, right? Sochrim min hagoy, that's mutar with any amount of money. It can even be less than a peruta. Vesochrim mimenu b'Shabbat, even allowed to do so on Shabbat itself. And halacha is likely to be the Eliezer ben Yaakov, right? One, the issue of yichud, even one-on-one, and therefore the only time it would be asur with the goy in the courtyard is if there's at least two Yisraelim there with the goy. That's when the goy could be osir on the rest of the